In August 1982, the Gap Band released the single titled You Dropped a Bomb on Me from their fourth album, and it reached number 2 on the Billboard R&B charts, number 39 on the dance charts, and number 31 on the Billboard Hot 100. Man, and Charlie Wilson, his vocals on that song was flawless. That's another song, y'all, that my family used to jam to on the weekends. You dropped a bomb on me. But anyway, now, for the longest time, people thought that the song had a deeper meaning behind it. People thought that the Gap Band was talking about the burning of Black Wall Street back in 1921, which was probably one of the most violent racial attacks in American history. Supposedly, planes had dropped bombs on the black residents there. But legendary lead singer of the Gap Band, Charlie Wilson, did an interview not too long ago to let people know what's the story behind that song. Now, according to Charlie Wilson, he said the song is really about being in love, but he's glad that it's bringing attention to the race riot that did happen back in his hometown in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Let's get into the story right now. See, the Gap Band, right? The original name was called the Greenwood, Archer, and Pine Street Band, which were names that came from the main streets in their Tulsa neighborhood, which was the Greenwood, Archer, and Pine Street, better known as Black Wall Street. And what happened was, when they was trying to promote their shows when they was coming up, the name was just too long to fit on the flyers, so they decided to shorten it to the Gap Band. But anyway, now let's get into the Black Wall Street. Now, how did Black Wall Street start? Black Wall Street was started by a rich black man named O.W. Gurley from Arkansas, who was an entrepreneur. He was a minister, he was a landowner in the Deep South, he was an educator, he worked at the U.S. Post Office, and he was a member of President Grover Cleveland's administration. And he left President Grover Cleveland's administration to come to Oklahoma in 1905 after oil had been discovered in Red Fork, which was a small town in south of Tulsa. Now, O.W. Gurley, he ended up buying like 40 acres of land, and he built like housing and hotels for blacks who were migrating from the South, and he would offer them loans to open up new businesses. And pretty soon, black people had over like 600 businesses. They had like drugstores, movie theaters, clubs, hotels, restaurants, grocery stores, salons, pool halls, libraries, hospitals, doctors, lawyers, dentists, schools, banks, public transportation, churches, and many more. You know what's crazy? During that time in the state of Oklahoma only had 2 airports, but people in Black Wall Street, the black families, it was 6 of them. 6 black families owned their own planes. Wow. They owned their own airplanes. The poor, middle class, and rich blacks, they all lived together in the same neighborhood. Everybody got along. And at the time, they called the area Little Africa. Even Booker T. Washington was amazed when he came to visit. And he was the one that gave it the name Black Wall Street. Even the white people on the other side of town did business and sold goods to the black people in Black Wall Street. Everybody got along. Now, everybody didn't get along because they had a big presence of the KKK there. They had like over 4,000 members. And the KKK, they hated to see the black people successful and expanding through other areas, which led to Tulsa becoming the city with the most African Americans in the state. And on May 31st, 1921, they burned the whole city down. They burned Black Wall Street down. Now, the story behind it is it was a 19-year-old black man named Dick Rowland who was a shoe shiner. Now, see, Dick Rowland, they say he was a pretty boy. He was a ladies' man, and he had dropped out of school at the time, and he took a job shining shoes in a white-owned shoe parlor. And during that time, the Jim Crow days, black people were not allowed to use the same restrooms as white people. So Dick Rowland had to go to another building to use the bathroom. And when he got in the elevator with the elevator operator, who was a 17-year-old white girl named Sarah Page, something happened. Something happened in the elevator, but nobody really knows. People just heard her scream, and Dick Rowland ran out. What they think happened is Dick Rowland lost his balance and stepped on her foot or grabbed her arm and startled her. Now, after that incident, the newspapers was trying to say he raped her, in which angered the white people, and they arrested him and they wanted to lynch Dick Rowland. But Black Army war vets from Black Wall Street, they came down with guns to protect Dick Rowland from being lynched. And that's when the big riot broke out, and the white people ended up burning down Black Wall Street. Now, survivors from the attack said it was large white mobs. They was looting and burning businesses and homes down. And the black community, they tried to fight. They tried to defend their homes and their businesses until the white people chartered airplanes and started dropping bombs. Wow, that's messed up. And when they did that, it was over, man. They say over 300 to 500 people were killed, leaving survivors with nothing. That's a shame, man. They were sleeping in tents and everything. They left them with nothing. Now, the crazy part is the girl, Sarah Page, she never pressed charges. And she went to Kansas City. And guess what? Dick Rowland was never charged. And he went to Kansas City too. Now, some rumors try to say that they had been romantically involved and reunited for a while in Kansas City before going separate ways. But some people say that white people just made the whole thing up and was just looking for a reason to destroy the city because they were jealous. Now, most of the survivors, they are dead now, but you can go back and check their interviews out on YouTube and listen to what they say happened, because for years, the powers that be try to cover this Black Wall Street thing up. And to this day, there are only 2 tombstones of survivors, and nobody knows where the rest of the 300 to 400 people that died was buried. You know what, man? This story is so deep. I'm gonna have to do a whole episode dedicated just to Black Wall Street, because it's a lot more things, man, I didn't get into that y'all need to know. Like the Indians and the black slaves and that Trail of Tears. Oh my God. If y'all don't know what the Trail of Tears is, that's when President Andrew Jackson, he gave the Indians blankets with smallpox in it. And there's more other things too, like the Red Summer in 1919 that started in Chicago. It's a whole bunch of stuff that ties into the beginning of Black Wall Street. You know, I'm gonna let y'all come up with a name for a series that I can do where I can just talk about stuff like Black Wall Street, the Trail of Tears, and a lot of history stuff. I'm gonna let y'all name the series. And you know, to be honest, man, they really need to make a movie about this. They need to make a movie about this. Another good thing though, what I heard was I heard it was some black families, man, they brought a bunch of acres in Georgia and was trying to create a black city like Black Wall Street not too long ago. I want to say like 2019 or something like that this happened. There was some black families, and they bought a whole bunch of acres in Georgia. So that'll be dope if they can get that together. But anyway, Now, the Gap Band song, You Dropped the Bomb on Me, is not about the Black Wall Street massacre, according to Charlie Wilson. But their name does stand for the streets that were in that city. We're going to get into it, man. Thank y'all for tuning in, and stay tuned for more episodes of Song of Reason.